right. So a couple of weeks ago, we interviewed an attorney turned family court litigant named Matt Grant. What I described at the time, a landmark civil RICO lawsuit that he filed in federal court, where he was going to accuse the St. Louis County court system, which my former friend Megan Fox and I investigated for a year. We both do believe it operates like a criminal enterprise. That's why I called it landmark. But this guy right here, Joshua Devine, who was nominated by President Trump, he's only been on the federal bench for a little while. He took a flamethrower. I think I'm channeling Al Pacino from Scent of a Woman there. Took a flamethrower to his RICO lawsuit and basically told him, not only is it garbage, I don't like the way I have questions about your motives. It was 170 pages. Come back in 10 pages or less. And if I don't like it, I'm going to sanction you. Is that a good summary of what Judge Devine? Now get to some of the specifics that he. What specifically?
Well, I thought the most specific that people aren't going to recognize, but for our reporting, is who Judge Devine is. He was the Solicitor General for the state of Missouri. He was a top litigator and a strategic litigator and a very good litigator. He knows how these sausages are made. So he's telling this guy, who's another litigator who should really know what's going on, he's top 100 big law, in his career. Pull it together, man. Pull it together. Give me something that's an actual legal claim. You've said that everybody's wrong and everybody's bad. And me and you, Mike, said this to him in our interview. We went through this entirely in our interview where we talked about, the points that he had. Go ahead. What he said.
We definitely talked about some things that I think we should have challenged him more, but we did this in particular. As the judge dryly observed, they won't entertain cases brought by, quote, state court losers unhappy with state judgments. Moreover, judges have absolute immunity from suit for their rulings. Quote, allegations of malice of corruption do not defeat judicial immunity. I brought this up. We talked about Kent Gerard's federal civil RICO lawsuit where he alleged judges were bribed. And the federal judge in his case, Rebecca Pallmeyer, said, even if we accept that they were bribed, your injury comes from the orders that they provided as a result of the bribe. And since judges are immune from anything they do in the courtrooms, she still dismissed it. And I said, if they are going to dismiss that, how can you possibly think that yours have merit? And he started saying things like, I want declaratory judgment or this, that, and the other. And then I asked him, well, aren't you trying to get judges removed? Aren't you trying to get a federal court to get judges removed? And he said, I didn't ask for that. Actually, according to Judge Devine, he did ask for that. What did Judge Devine think of his request to remove the entire 21st Circuit, which is where...
It's like if he... Here, go through our questions right here. Go back up there. We have 4 questions that we have, mine and yours. My first question...
Doesn't this look like sour grapes by someone who lost in federal court? Why isn't this just a malpractice case against your lawyer instead of a federal RICO case? And he said because it's basically, he argued it's a conspiracy against me.
Second one is the bribes. You talked about that.
Yeah, and he said, well, there's injunctive. He said they're not immune from injunctive relief. I think Judge Devine right now disagrees with that. That's how he.
And the judge removed the third one.
Yeah, and then you want judges removed, and that's absurd. You can't use a federal lawsuit to remove judges who were elected, or either elected or appointed by people who were elected. I don't care how bad you think they are. There's no way. And Judge Devine said he wants us to remove these folks without giving any reason how we have the power to do that.
And then the fourth one, we took it home there. Doesn't this look like a ring job?
Right. When it's so sprawling, he worried about appearing like, but then doubled down on his claims. It's systematic. And in fact, Judge Devine called it scattershot, which I think is another term for a shotgun pleading. And he wants a 10-page or less. Basically, write the same complaint in 10 pages or less. Or if it's not, a lot better. Not only am I dismissing it, but I might give you a $5,000 fine. He didn't give an amount.
The point, Michael, what can save him, and I said it in the article right there, was, I say this to a lot of people that call me up with family court stories or cases or things that they have. And, I tell them, look, give me the 30 to 45-second elevator pitch media bite on this. What is it? Why is it important? Why should I care? Why is it different than everything else? Matt Grant couldn't do that for 30 to 45 seconds. Maybe he's not media trained, I thought, because he's a lawyer, but that's not the case. He needs to reorganize his thinking on this lawsuit, and quick. He has 6 days to get it into the court. He's got to have a very focused conspiracy with very clear co-conspirators. Not something that he has. What he has now is the regular. It's like a beautiful mind. It's like a beautiful mind. Remember Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind? And they have the board with the 50 people, and they're all connected. It's out of control. That's really what this is.
I wanted to point this is from Judge Devine's order. Grant begins his complaint with 47 pages of unnumbered, difficult to follow narrative asserting his emphasis that, quote, shadow networks of Republican politics have conspired statewide to deprive him of custody of his children, that the alleged cabal did so in retaliation for him, quote, exposing systemic corruption, although the corruption was already well known. He's exposing something, and he did say it's well known because he cited me, he cited Megan Fox, my former friend, he cited other cases. It was supposedly well known. This is a huge problem for him. The problem for us is the underlying custody case is considered a paternity case in Missouri, so it is sealed. So it's very difficult to know exactly what's happening in the paternity case. We'll try to figure it out, but this will be very similar to another high-profile case, the Casanova case, where they were sealed because it was in New York. Both sides can release information strategically that points to their side being in the right, and you
can't.
Talking
to sources, Mike. We've both been talking to sources, and we have information that we're going to release.
We'll see, but I don't know. The problem is without seeing the whole thing, because Missouri won't let you see it with this. Last year we talked about Whitney Thompson, who was divorcing her ex-husband Charles, who had tried to commit suicide twice but got sole custody anyway. And I went online, and there was the entire file except for maybe the court recordings from each of the hearings. That's very transparent. That it's a lot harder to hide malfeasance when it's that transparent. This thing, it's going to be hard to know what's happening in the custody case. But as far as so what we're going to cover is the thing that's easy to follow. Judge Devine just put a flamethrower to his civil RICO lawsuit. And I've had a couple of people, he's doing the right thing. He's taking on the system. No, he's not doing the right thing, because if you take on the system with a frivolous lawsuit, that doesn't help anyone.
Well, the point is that we already reached out to Matt we received from a source, I think 14 or so points that refuted things that Matt said, both in the lawsuit and on our show. I sent it over to Matt. I sent the questions over and asked him for comment. He hasn't responded to me. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until September 15th, because maybe as a lawyer, he's looking to do his speaking with his pleadings. But, if it doesn't seem by that, he's lost a lot of his credibility.
Right. This is Matt's response to Judge Devine's order, 5-page order. No new concerns. This proves a lot to me. If you don't have any new concerns by a judge, not only to basically saying I'm going to dismiss the case, but I might hold sanctions against you, then you might be delusional. But that doesn't explain anything. But we'll see. He has until September 15th. We'll be back next week, and we'll look at what he filed.
That'll be the watershed date of this case, because there'll be something in black and white, and he'll have submitted that's going to answer this.
I should have been a lot tougher on him, because privately I was telling you and others that this lawsuit looked like he was garbage, but I didn't push back nearly strongly enough. But Judge Devine definitely.
The question that you needed. You asked him some very solid questions, but he didn't answer. Right. So, we have it on the record with him. We give him every opportunity, and the door is always open for him to supplement. And in my heart of hearts, I hope that, because we all have the feeling that there is corruption in the St. Louis family courts. The question is, you have to be able to prove it. And, he's a litigator. He should know better. That's what Judge Devine said. You should know better. And he compounds the fact that he may have been off more than he could chew with that sprawling complaint. Maybe you take 5 or 10 people and you focus on that little, group. You're not trying to convict the entire mafia in one case. You just pick a little group. That's the whole thing. And that's the problem.
There's a bigger problem. He makes, I think, what are conclusory statements. The biggest problem is he calls it a conspiracy. Like, for instance, he says there's a lot of perjury. There may be perjury, but you can't say that's RICO unless it's a conspiracy to commit perjury. And I don't think he's got evidence of any kind of a conspiracy to do anything except possibly take his kids away from him unfairly. That's not RICO.
Right, so that piece of evidence is your evidence, the one you have in that the crooked GAL talking about how the system get taken down.
Right. Well, that's not in
That's
his
that type of
case.
stuff that you need in a conspiracy case.
Right.
Words that the people say out of their own mouths. How did they get Gotti?
Well,
They
no,
got somebody in the
he does
conspiracy
have
to flip. He needs to flip somebody inside to make a conspiracy. And it's not going to go everywhere. It's not going to get every judge in that courthouse like he wants.
Right,
It might get one judge, and that's a stretch.
Right.
You've got to get the court of
That's if somebody's there to. That's if somebody's there to flip. Maybe there isn't the conspiracy.
Flip with their words, though.
Listen,
with their words